How's it going, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to the Nyanumba Codes channel. I know it's been a while. It's been almost 10 days or even beyond that since I last posted a video, but I want to just, come forward and give a public apology. I know some of you have been waiting for this particular video for almost, a week and beyond. Last week, Tuesday, I said I was going to release this, and I've just been dealing with a lot throughout the week. Now it's Friday, the 4th of April, and I just have decided that this is the time where I'm going to actually sit down and give you guys this masterpiece. And this masterpiece is going to be dealing with two-factor authentication. Now, if you guys find that interesting, please go ahead and hit that subscribe button so that we can move on forward and you can always be updated with all the new videos and the new tutorials that I'll be doing on this channel. Now, without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, let's actually jump into what it is that we want to actually do. So I'm going to log out from this particular project. This project is one that I'm developing in a private setting. And I'm just going to come in here and log in. So I'm just going to disable my camera so that you guys can be able to have a feel. So I'm just going to log in like just as normal, and then we're going to have this one-time password over here. So you can see we have our one-time password request, and we're going to go into Authenticator and actually get it. And my Authenticator particularly says that this is a 016187, and I'm just going to hit enter to verify. And now we're in. We can just select a company, and then now we'll be able to see that we have all these different things. So we have, well, diesel, kerosene, petrol, and we can create our fuel. We can do all these different things. So you can see we are able to log in to our application. And this is all because of a particular setting inside here that we've enabled called two-factor authentication. So we've come in here, we've enabled two-factor authentication, and if we can disable it, then we have it right here. So we can either show the QR code like this, and then we can scan it and scan afresh. Now, if we log out and then we start by signing in again, we'll definitely come into this without having to put in two-factor authentication. We can go ahead, do that, go ahead to settings, go ahead to two-factor authentication, show the QR code, scan it, and, do the needful. So given that that is the situation, and this QR code usually changes, I think it changes in every 5 seconds, every 20 seconds. So you scan it and then put in the QR code generated by the app, enable it, and then you can go ahead and, just have those things running. That being done is as follows. We're going to actually do it from scratch so that, you have a better starting point for this particular application. So, or rather with any application that you plan on starting with, this is Livewire, but you can also do this logic inside React and also inside Vue. So let's get down to business. Now we're going to come in here, go to open sites, and then we're going to come in here and add a new site. We're going to come in here and call the Livewire starter kit, and then we're going to come and do the project name being two-factor. And we're just going to hit next. And now as it proceeds on to create our project, we're going to look at the packages that we're going to be using for this. So if we go to Google 2FA-Laravel, you'll get this item here in packages for the package that you're going to be using for two-factor authentication. So this one is the one, all right? But you can also use two other different packages that are supposed to be enveloped inside your application together with this, and that is Bacon QR and Pragmax Recovery. So this one is for generating the QR code, and this one is for generating the recovery code. And now once you understand what is going on over there, we can be able to, generally, I'll just walk you through it. It's not going to be difficult, because even this documentation, it's not super straightforward about what it is that you need. But as you can see, we're given these new suggests as packages that would probably be required to run everything else. So you can see we require Bacon QR code. We definitely require that. We also can use Pragmax Recovery for the generating of the recovery codes. And to be able to see how this works as well, you can be able to import it, and then you can come in here and do recovery to array, and then you can put them inside the collection, or rather we can actually do it to collection like this, and you'll be able to see the list of recovery codes that you need. Now, forgive me, but my confidence in front of the camera is kind of short because, I mean, it's been 10 days since I last recorded a video, and I'm planning to do a lot more in the process of doing this. So as I pause to take time to actually look at you guys and tell you like, okay, you know what, I'm back and this is going to be consistent and we're going to go back to our live streams, I just want to plead with you guys. I want to hit 2,000 subscribers before the end of April, and I know you guys can hack it. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm just going to implore you, go ahead, hit that subscribe button, and these tutorials will get more juicier and juicier as we proceed on forward. I know you guys have been looking for two-factor authentication using Google, the Google Authentication. I know you guys are going to be looking for the two-factor authentication using SMS. I'm going to be doing that very soon. As well, consider being members of the group, of the channel. And as always, ladies and gentlemen, this is going to be something exciting as we move on forward. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, let's jump back to the tutorial so that we can be able to, understand the inner workings of creating this two-factor authentication situations. All right, so inside our Laravel HUD, you can definitely see that we have our build something amazing set up over here for us. Now we can close this, open this in the browser, and we have our new Laravel Livewire Starter Kit implementation. We can go ahead and log in, and we can go ahead and also do some registration. So you can see two-factor test.test. That is where we are at right now. And we can proceed on forward very quickly with this. The next thing we're also going to do here is we're going to open it in our VS Code. As you can see, the first error that has come up inside here is our Vite manifest has not been found. And now the essence of this is that we need to actually compile our JavaScript requirements inside here. So as you can see inside our files over here, we don't have our node modules. We have our vendor, but we don't have our node modules. So therefore, if we don't have our node modules, then npm run dev will not work. As you can see, we have that it's failed to find the module Vite. So we need to do npm install first. That is the first thing. Then we'll do npm run dev. Actually, in fact, even before we do npm run dev, I think we'll just do npm run dev nrd like that, so that we have hot reload every time we have a file saved. So that's essentially what we're going to be doing here. So when we click on that, we have our login page over here. We also have our sign up page over here. We can come in here, sign up with our full names, our email, and our password. We can use our own password, or we can choose a strong password. And I'm going to use my own password for this. And now, once we've done that, we can be able to log in. So it creates the account and it logs in. And that's just usually the standard of Laravel. You can change that logic if you want. You can do whatever it is that you want with that. I'm going to save this. And now we have our starting point over here. And we also have our settings. So this is how this is going to actually work. We're going to put a two-factor tab over here. And inside that two-factor tab over there, we're going to have logic that is going to be placed in between all of that. So this is what we're going to do. We're going to go to resources, we're going to go to views, and then we'll go to Livewire settings, and then we'll go ahead to create something in here for the settings. So what we're going to create here is going to be called the two-factor verify, or rather two-factor the two-factor authentication tab. So we're just going to come in here and do PHP artisan make vault, and we're going to do settings, and then we're going to do a / and then a 2-factor. And once we create that, it's going to formulate it over here. So once it formulates it over here, what we're just going to basically do is, on the UI basis, we're going to copy everything that is up until this point where we have the settings layout, and then we're going to close it off inside there. We're going to close it off at that point. So we'll put it there, and then we'll close this spot over here, and then we'll close the last bit which is the section. And once we've done that, inside the settings layout is where we're going to be able to have all these different data coming to play. So the settings layout over here, what we're going to do is change the heading to two-factor authentication. And then over here on the subheading, we're going to come in here and say enable or disable. And then we're going to say two-factor authentication. And that's going to be our heading and our subheading for that page. So given that that is not what we've enabled over here, we're going to go ahead into our settings layout, which is inside our components settings layout. And then we're going to add that route over here. So we're going to come in here and do a route, and then we'll say settings two-factor. And then that settings two-factor, we'll just call it two-factor authentication. So we'll do it like this. And once we've done that, we know that we need our routes to play around over here. So we have to enable it inside here. Come in here and do settings and two-factor. And this, since it's a vault route, we have to put in the component name, which is two-factor, the way we've enabled it over here. And then we're going to call the name two-factor. And once we've done that, we have our two-factor authentication here. We'll just click on this and you can definitely see that our page is working. Two-factor authentication, enable or disable two-factor authentication. So now we know that this page is going to be working. So now, essentially, now that this page is working, this is the logic that we're going to be putting into this point over here. First things first, before we even go any further, there's some data that we're going to be putting inside our migrations for the users table. Inside the users table, this is what we're going to be doing. We're going to first start by doing the two-factor secret. So it's going to be a text, and this text is going to be a two-factor secret. And then it's going to obviously come after the password. So I'll just do after password. All right. And then once we've done that, we can now do the two-factor recovery codes, which is after the two-factor secret. And we'll also have to do underneath this, we have to do the confirm time. So we'll do a table. And we'll do timestamp, all right? And this timestamp will be the two-factor confirm that, and it's going to be after the two-factor recovery codes, and it's going to be nullable. And now that's done, and we're just going to have those 3 extra columns in our database table. So this two-factor confirm that is always going to be restructured every single time somebody logs in. And if it passes a certain amount, or if it logs out, right? If somebody logs out, then this is always going to be set to null, okay? So in that situation, we would actually go into our Livewire actions and just do this, okay? And this is why it's very important to know the ins and outs of your application. We'll come in here and just do authenticated user. And then we'll just do the, this new two-factor recovery, confirm that, and then we'll just set it to null, okay? And then we'll save that, and we'll just have to do it like that. We could either force fill it and just do two-factor confirm that, and that force fill is usually, I don't know if it is, it's something that is there. But let's see, force fill. I don't know if it's something that is there like that. I think that should be that. Yeah. Function model force fill. This one just goes straight to the user's model and actually does the force fill thing and then saves it. And then we'll get rid of this save and we're good to go. So that essentially should be invocable whenever we hit logout, and that is fine. So whenever we do that, now we're just going to exit that, and let's see what else we need to actually sort out. I think the database table is okay, and the two-factor page is okay. So now there's a new logic that we need to add into play. So there are three different functions that we're going to be using over here inside our component over here. And the three functions that we're going to be doing are, there's a public function, and we'll say toggle QR code. So that is one function. I'll just leave it empty for now. And the next one is going to be the enable two-factor. So we'll enable two-factor and we'll also disable two-factor. So that's essentially what we're going to be doing there. Inside also this, aside from the toggle QR code, we're also going to have our mount function, which is usually our construct function inside Livewire components. So we're going to have that set up, and we're going to have a few other variables that are going to be in place. The first variable that's going to be in place over here is the public secret, okay? The next one is going to be the QR code URL. Third one is going to be the showing QR code, which starts out as false. And then the fourth one is also going to be showing recovery. We'll also use showing recovery codes and also the recovery codes. We'll have the code itself that is supposed to be inputted when you're confirming. So we'll just come in here and just do public. And that is just that. We're just going to have that set up like that. So here's the logic. Inside our mount function, we're going to start with our Google two-factor authentication being equal to app, and then we'll call the abstract function from pragmax, and this one has not been imported just yet. So we need to actually bring this in before this actually throws in an error. We could either do this, Google 2FA is equal to new Google 2FA, but we've not even brought in anything to do with this package. So I'm just going to close this. I'm just going to hold on to this, and we're going to look at the package that is involved, which is inside Google 2FA Laravel, and we're going to bring in these codes. So it's taking its time to load. Given that it's taking its time to load, I already know that this is the composer package. So I'm just going to come in here and just do composer require, and then we'll just do that, and then we'll also do the bacon QR after that. So let's just watch it bring it in. So you can see that is the Google 2FA, the Google 2FA QR code, and there's no bringing in of the bacon QR code. So we'll just bring it in as well. And we'll also bring in the pragmax recovery. So let it generate, and then we'll be able to see what next to do. So then the next thing is requiring this bacon QR code package. And the last one is also this pragmax recovery, which is going to be brought in through this. So I'm just going to come in here and paste it in here and let it bring in that package, which is great. So all these packages have been brought in, and now what we just need to do is start calling everything from this point here. So we'll start by doing the variable for the Google 2FA being equal to, and now we just need to call app, which now calls the container instance of the Google two-factor authentication. So just going to come in here and call it like this. So just do pragmax Google 2FA, just like that. And after that is done, we're going to also call in the user. And the user is going to be the authenticated user coming in from Illuminate support for SARDs, and just like that, we're good to go. Then the next thing we're going to do is the secret. So we'll start by putting in the secret being equal to the user's Google two-factor authentication secret, which is fine. And then the next thing we're going to do is now we'll do an if statement. So there's a possibility where this user doesn't have the secret inside the database. So the condition here is that if this secret is not available, okay, if this secret that is being brought in by the 2FA secret, which is actually supposed to be two-factor secret, okay, if this two-factor secret is not actually present, then this secret, has to be generated from this point over here, the Google 2FA, and that is exactly what we're going to do. So we'll just do this secret is equal to, and then we'll just do Google 2FA generate secret key, which is okay. And then we'll now start doing the QR code URL. So we'll just do this QR code URL is equal to get, then we'll say QR code inline. I'll use the inline because it's actually much easier to generate. We'll do the application name, the user email, and then the secret key, which is fine. And then after that, we'll also need to do the recovery codes. Okay, so we'll need to come in here and generate recovery codes for this. And in order for us to generate the recovery codes, we need to use this recovery area. So as you can see, this is the logic that is being used. And this is the first time on this tutorial, this is the first time that I'm ever using these recovery codes, or rather this package itself. So we can actually do this entire thing without having to use recovery codes, but recovery codes are necessary because in a case where like you don't have your authenticator and the authenticator app is probably messed, then you need your recovery codes to be able to, you know, generate for you whatever it is that you actually need. And this is what's going to happen. So we have the basic usage. This recovery is equal to the new recovery. And then we'll just come in here and just do this recovery to array, or this to collection, or to JSON, or whatever it is that you wish to do. So that's essentially what we're going to do. We're going to come in here and say this recovery codes, all right, is equal to, and then we'll come in here and say Google 2FA generate random recovery codes. That is incorrect. What we'll do is Google 2FA. In fact, what I'm going to do here is recovery is equal to new recovery, and it's coming in from Pragmax. And then we'll come in here and say recovery, and then we'll do it to collection, or we can even do it to JSON. So the thing about it is, you can definitely see that we have it here. Yeah, and I think everything is okay. I think what we can even do, given that recovery codes over here is already an array, what we can also do here is to array, and that's it. I think that's generally it. Even in this process, we can actually just set it up like this. We can say that these recovery codes, all right, is equal to what is coming in from the user. And we'll come in here and say user, and then we'll say recovery codes. So two-factor recovery codes, okay? And then we'll say if these recovery codes are not there, then we generate the, we generate everything at this point. So essentially, these recovery codes are only going to be appearing if the user already has the two-factor secret. So there's no way that a user is going to have the two-factor secret without the recovery codes. It's just basically not possible. Like, it's not supposed to be allowed. So if this user doesn't have the secret, then we'll come in here and put the recovery codes down here. So we'll just come in here and say this recovery codes is equal to, and then we'll come in here and say new recovery, and this is coming in from Pragmax, and I'll encompass this inside that, and then we'll come in here and say, you know what, I want it in an array. So we'll come in here and just do to array, and that is done. So given that is the situation, now we have our recovery codes, we have our QR code URL, we have everything. So now once that is enabled like this in the case of mounting, okay, we'll also have to say that the user's two-factor recovery codes are also going to be in play. Two-factor recovery codes are also going to come into play. So in a case where, like, once we go to this settings page, whatever recovery codes were there beforehand need to be shown, okay? To toggle the QR code, this is what we're going to be doing. To toggle the QR code, we're going to come in here and say that this showing QR code is not this showing QR code. So in that situation, we're just going to change this from false to true, and that's it. And then the same thing for recovery codes, I think, because that's something that should be showing up whenever we open up a QR like that. The next thing that we're going to do here is we're going to enable two-factor authentication. And just like the way we started over here with this Google 2FA like this, is the same way we're going to actually start our enable two-factor authentication right there. We're going to come in here, start that. Then we're going to validate this user. So we're going to come in here and just do a validation. So the validation is supposed to be validating the code variable that we are putting in through the form over here. This is required. It needs to be digits. And what I'm going to do here is something that not many people will want to get into. Okay. So I'll do the required. Okay. I'll separate this with a comma. I'll do the required. I'll do digit 6. And then the next thing I will do is a function. And this function is going to be taking in the attribute. It's going to take the value and it's going to fail. And then I want to use this Google 2FA inside this function. So as you can see, it's providing for me that Google 2FA. And then I'm going to check if this verification of the secret, I'm going to verify this secret. So if this secret is verifiable with the value that is coming in from the code itself, then what we're going to do is, if it doesn't happen, then we fail it. And we say that the attribute is invalid, and then we put in that whole situation like that. So if the attribute is invalid, in fact, I will just leave it like this. The dash dash is invalid. And yeah, we just call it like that. Call it as it is. So we close that if statement, and then we move on forward to closing that up. And now once we've done this validation, this is what we're going to do. We'll start by doing the user is equal to auth user. We'll now put the two-factor secret in. We'll also put the two-factor recovery codes in, and then we won't do the two-factor confirm that. What we will do, because the two-factor confirm that could be now, actually, actually we'll do the two-factor confirm that. Being now, because this person is already logged in, and then we'll save. Okay. Then after that, we now come in here and we'll probably dispatch. We can put the session status. We can do all those different things. Most of the time, people will use the session status because given whatever it is that is coming in from the profile, over here there's a place where we have our our status. And it's over here, like let's say this flux text, if session status verification link sent, then show the text. And then you could also time it out. You can also do all these different things. There's also this action message, which you could use as well. And yeah, all those different things are there. I will probably use this session status one, or I would use something I'd like to call the suite alerts, and that's essentially what I will use at this point. So in order for me to use suite alerts, I'll just use the dispatch. So I'll say this dispatch, and when I dispatch, I will dispatch the done, and when I dispatch done, I will do success, and then I will say the message is two-factor authentication enabled, and that's just that. So I'll just put it like this, two-factor authentication enabled, and that's it. Now, given that this could fail at any one given point, and I don't want notifications to be given in two different situations, I would probably wrap this in a try-catch and dispatch both events the same way. But let's just leave it like this for now, and let's see what we can do from this point onwards. So what we'll do here inside the settings, because I know we've not done the disable the two-factor. In fact, that's exactly what we will do. So in order for us to disable the two-factor authentication, we'll come in here and do user is equal to auth user, set the two-factor secret to null, two-factor recovery codes to null, and the two-factor confirm that to null, and save. And then we'll come in here and say that this dispatch is done with the success message, two-factor authentication disabled, and that is that. So most people will say that disabling is like a downgrade, so it shouldn't be a success. But this is a request. This is what you wanted to do. So if what you wanted to do is successful, then you have to give a success message. I mean, generally, if you're a beginner, then you probably don't know that. But I mean, I'm counting on that, and I'm counting that this particular logic helps you in that quest. So the next thing that we're going to do here inside these settings is we're going to come in here and start an if statement over here. So this if statement is going to be an if else, given that this is going to be an if else statement. So I'm just going to come in here and do an else, and then we're going to end the if right there. So what we'll do here in this if statement is we'll ask the question, if the authenticated user has a two-factor secret, okay? If the authenticated user has a two-factor secret, so I'll just do two-factor secret, then we now start checking, all right? The QR code has been toggled to show. So I'll just come in here and do if, and I'll just do an if else as well. All right, so inside here, if the QR code is supposed to be showing, then we need to show the QR code. So the first thing I'll do here, instead of doing a flex and a flex column with a gap of 4, we will do it somewhat differently. I'll do a margin top of 4. And then after the margin top of 4, I'll do a space Y of 4 so that it spaces it evenly going downwards. I'll do a P tag, and this P tag is going to be like this. So I'll do a class of text, and I know we're using zinc right now, so text zinc, and I'll do text zinc 700, but in dark mode, I'll do a text zinc of 200, of maybe say 200. I think 200 is enough. And then we will put it in and say that we want to scan the QR code with your Authenticator app. So now once we've done that, we can now come in here at the bottom of this and now just display our QR code URL like so. So we could do that, or actually, because this is going to show it differently, and I'll show you how that works right now. Then after this, we're going to do another P tag, and then we're going to come in here and say that this is also just a P tag, just like the other one actually. So I'm just going to duplicate it and put it underneath, and then we'll just put our label up here. In fact, this is what we're going to do, right? We're not even going to put this P tag right here. We're going to use Flux UI. So Flux, and this Flux inputs, I'm just going to close this, and then I'm just doing a wire model, and this wire model is going to be code, and then we're going to do the type is being text. And now once we've done that, we are going to put the label. So the label is going to be enter the code generated by the app. So I'll say by the authenticator. It's going to be a hold-on label. And then we're going to put in the error codes over here. So aside from the Flux input, we're going to do Flux error. And inside Flux error, we'll change wire model to name, and everything else will just be closed out. So just like that, guys, we have our input ready. And notice that I've not even opened my my browser even at one given point. And I know we need that class for the recovery. I don't know why it's not imported it very well. So I think it's supposed to import it, and it's not importing it. So I'll just come in here and say use, I don't know if it's supposed to be support and then recovery, but I think that's okay. So no, it's not supposed to be like that. It's supposed to be here. I don't understand. It's supposed to be this one. Oh yeah, it's not supposed to be the Google 2FA Laravel. It's going to be recovery. And I think that should be just that. I don't know if it's supposed to be like this. Okay, let's look at this recovery area over here. And it's supposed to be a new Pragmarks recovery. So yeah, I think I'll just copy this for now. And I'll just close this. And then I'll bring it in like this. Let's save it like that. Let's see what happens. Syntax error, unexpected token. I don't know. Everything here looks okay, I believe. Oh yeah, it's inside here, right there. So Yeah, this one is not found. So I wonder why it's not even found at this point, because I'm sure we brought it in. Pragmark's recovery. Oh, we did not. Okay. Oh, we did. We actually did. Yeah, we actually did. So I'm wondering why. You can see we're using bacon and we're also using recovery. This should have been brought in very well. So honestly, don't know why it's not bringing that in. New recovery. Just going to close this first and then open this again. This class is not found, so I don't understand why it's not bringing it in. Because if I went to like my logout and decided that I want to bring in recovery, I don't know why the linting is giving me a bit of an issue. Okay, a few things. Let's get rid of the recoveries and recovery over here as well. Let's see what happens next. So we have a syntax error unexpected over here. This one is okay. This one is okay. This one is fine, and this one is fine. So I don't know what's happening. It's a really big bother at this point. This should be closed. This is okay. And even here, we have things that are okay. Unless it's this if-else statement. So let's just finish coding this out, because we can definitely see that we have something over here inside our logout. I'm just going to try and bring it in. It's okay. So this essentially should be okay. And you can definitely see our QR code is over here. And now the thing about our QR code is that it needs to be an inline. So in order for us to print this out inline, we'll need to do the string conversion type. And this one will be coming in as QR code URL. And just like this one, it's going to be fine. So you can see our QR code is over here, and we can see this label over here with the input, and then you can see the enable two-factor authentication button. Now this button is going to appear like this, okay? We're going to come in here and wrap this inside a grid. So we'll just do a grid, and then we'll do grid columns 2, and then we'll do a gap 4 or a gap 6. I could do a gap 4, and this would actually make sense. I don't understand why linting is bringing up a big issue. I'm gonna close this and open it again. So now that we are back, okay, so this is essentially what we're going to do. We're going to do that, and then we'll put in the button again. And once we put in the button, we're going to put another button. In fact, this button that is put up over here, it should probably have been inside components, and I think that's what is going on. But I don't know. I don't know what's going on. We're going to do NRD here so that it doesn't throw an error again, because I closed this again, the Vite manifest. Yeah, so this button is all right. And we can see that we have it as X button. So instead of X button, we're going to do flux : button. We're going to do a variant to being primary. And then once we do that as the variant being primary, we're going to have another one for danger. And then we're going to do hide QR code. And this one is for toggling the QR code. This one is for enabling. So this one should be enable to, and I'm just going to copy from the function that we've enabled over here. Enable two-factor, and we're going to paste it inside here, enable two-factor, and that's how it's supposed to be done. So now once we click on this button, it's supposed to check whether or not like the code that has been put in over here is okay. And for us to do that, now we'll just come in here, enable two-factor, click on this, and you can see the code field is required. If we refresh this in its entirety, we can definitely see if not showing QR, all right? So if not showing QR is false. So this is supposed to be if showing actually. So if showing, then we're going to have this like this. So if it's not showing, then there should be a button that actually is there for us to toggle whether or not this QR code is going to be shown. And I see AI has done for us a solid there by creating for us that. And I'm just going to get rid of this button right here. It's just going to be one button, which is going to show the QR code. I have texting 700, texting 200, and that is okay. And we can see show. We're good to go. So in the space of that, in fact, I think that's really quite solid. And I'll just, instead of saying scan the QR with the Authenticator app, I'll say click the button below to show the QR code. And that is essentially what we're going to do right there. Now we are at the end of this first. What about the next else statement? This else statement comes in as the opposite of this having the two-factor secret. So at the end of this here, we're going to have a few buttons. The first one is going to be the disable two-factor authentication, and the second one is going to show the recovery codes. And then if the recovery codes are showing, okay, in fact, I'll put this here and then I'll say end if or else. I'll put an else here and then we'll end the if. So if the recovery codes are not showing, then we'll have the button for showing the recovery codes. And then over here we'll say toggle recovery. Then we'll show the recovery codes in the process. Otherwise, we'll have this button replicate itself, and now we will have to create a function that is similar to this one for toggling the recovery codes. So we'll come in here and say toggle recovery codes. And then this one should be this showing recovery codes is not equal to showing recovery codes. And that's just that. So that's as simple as it sounds. If you can see, showing the QR code, enable two-factor authentication, show the the recovery codes and all those different things. I don't know if this particular item over here can generate the the recovery codes on themselves on their own, because I'm going to actually check this out. So you can see manually log out from two-factor authentication. This command will log out for your user, and yeah, that's what's going to happen. Then there's this new authenticator request logout, which is okay. Then we will, this is the stateless usage. Okay, so this is stateless usage, where now you can check if this authenticator is authenticated. And yeah, in most situations, you'd use this instead of using the two-factor confirmed at. And yeah, that is essentially what I needed to check. So as for the recovery codes, I don't understand why it's not doing anything. But yeah, I think this is the basic usage that has been documented here, and it should be able to import that. So you can definitely see that if we come in here and just do this recovery codes, I'll just do is equal to new. I don't understand why it's asking me to do that, because it should have imported recovery. So I'll say use marks rx, and then we'll look for recovery, and I think it's recovery, which is okay. Given that is the situation, I think that should be fine. And then after that, we'll be able to call in the function for converting this to an array or to a collection, okay, or to JSON. So if we put this to a JSON string, which will be okay, I think that'll be fine, and we'll save that. And once that is applied, in fact, I could even like show it over here. I could come in here and say that this recoveries is equal to this recovery over here. So I'll come in here and just display it just underneath the QR code. I will probably just do that and then say, I could do this actually, or enter the code manually, but this is what I will do. And then I'll just display this recovery, just like that. Or I'll come and display it like without this recovery codes. When we show this, you can see the recovery codes are here and they're being displayed as JSON. So in order for us to display them evenly, I'll just do a for each. All right, so I'll do a for each loop, and then I'll say recovery codes as code, and then I'll do a list, and then I'll put in the code, and that should be okay if once I put the end for each here, and that should be good. So if I show QR, it should be able to have given me that. And then I'll come in here and just do a JSON decode, and that should be okay. So if I click on show, I have all these recovery codes given to me right here, which is fair. And if that is the case, then I'm just going to cut this and save it for later. And then I'll display it inside this part over here. I'll say for each of these recovery codes as code, list down the codes. And in this situation, I will not even, I'll put it inside a UL. So I'll come in here and just do UL. Inside this UL, I'll put some few classes to make it a bit more friendly. So like space Y2 and margin top, maybe say margin top of 3. And so once that is done, I'll be able to scan this, enable two-factor. This will enable itself. So you can definitely see that if we scan this QR, which I'm scanning right now, I have a code that is already generated, which is 382.876. And when I click on enable, you can definitely see we have a bit of an issue with the database storage. No such column two-factor secret, and that's because we've not migrated our table afresh. So in order for us to proceed on, we need to migrate our table afresh. So I'll just do PHP artisan migrate fresh, and mine has with the seeding functionality. So we'll come in here, we'll sign up again. We don't have any users in the account. We'll come in here and put in a password, and we'll confirm the password. And now once we've done that, we can now scan again. And now when we scan, it scans, it gives us a different code, which is 731643. We'll enable, and now it's okay. So if we click on show two-factor recoveries, it should change. Now, given that it shows that, there's this part for the showing of the recovery codes, and then there's this part for the hiding of the recovery codes. So there's show and there's hide. So show, we'll come in here and do show recovery codes, which is supposed to be at the top if they're not showing. And then if they are, then we'll come in here and say hide recovery codes. So show recovery codes is a primary, hide is supposed to be a danger. And that is good to go. So when we refresh this, we have two-factor authentication enabled. When we click on show recovery codes, it should show the recovery codes by changing or toggling this recovery codes area within this area over here. So the toggle recovery codes, showing QR code, and this one should be showing recovery codes actually. So show recovery codes, you can definitely see that. And then there's this part for the disable two-factor authentication, which is quite fair. I think when we refresh this, we show, you can definitely see those recovery codes are right there. What I can do here inside this UL, this list item, is, and I know I'm probably focusing on a bit of the UI stuff. I could get rid of this MT3 because there's already a spacing. And now inside this UL, there should be a spacing of Y2. And then what I will do is I'll do a flex, all right? And then that's just that. So when I do flex, it will line it up, I think, line for line. And what I will do is column, flex column now will line it up straight. And if I line it up straight, you can definitely see that definitely works. So what I'll do, instead of even doing flex, I'll just do grid, and then I'll do grid column 3. So I'll do grid 2 or grid calls 3, and then I'll do a gap 4, and that's okay. Okay, so if I do that, then you have these recovery codes showing up over here. And we have this gap 4. I think the gap 4 should change to a gap 2. And columns 3 should change to a columns 2 so that they line up hand in hand. So that way we have them in a straight line like this, like that. And those are our recovery codes. That's fine. So now once we log out, right, there should be something that is taking us to a place where we're supposed to be putting in our two-factor authentication. So when I click on login, between the dashboard and the login, there should be a place where we're putting in the two-factor secret. So that's what we're going to be doing next. We're going to have to put in a PHP artisan make middleware. Okay, and I know you probably guessed it. So there's supposed to be two middlewares, by the way. And the reason why we're putting two middlewares is we're first of all going to be checking if this user is authenticated but not having put the two-factor secret. And we're also going to be checking that if this user is authenticated and also has put in the two-factor secret. So this is how we're going to go about it. So the first one is going to be called has two-factor, okay, but hasn't logged in. So but that hasn't put in the confirmation. And the next one is two-factor authenticated or authenticator. So this one checks for both if this person has the two-factor secret and also has been confirmed into the system. So that's essentially how we're going to go about that. Now, for us to go ahead and use the logic that is supposed to be put inside here, we're just going to go to HTTP middleware. And this one is supposed to check if this user is having the two-factor secret and is not confirmed. So we're just going to come in here and take this next request, cut it, and we're going to come in and say if. And for this if statement here, the condition is like this. The authenticated user, does he have the two-factor secret? Okay, then if he has that and he's not authenticated, he's not confirmed. So we'll just come in here and say auth user two-factor confirm that. Then if that is the case, then wherever it is that we're putting this middleware, accept the next request, which is supposed to be on the two-factor verification page. Then we're going to do a return redirect, and the field here is the route of the dashboard because this is not supposed to be put on the dashboard. So that is the first thing. The second one is supposed to check if this person is either has the two-factor secret, doesn't have the two-factor secret, is confirmed already. So if this person is already confirmed or doesn't even have the two-factor authentication enabled, then just allow the person to go to the next. All right, so I'll just come in here and just do if the authentication, and we'll say if this user doesn't have the authentication secret, the two-factor secret. So user two-factor secret, okay? Or, and then we'll come in here and say the authenticated user is confirmed at. Then we'll just return the next request. Otherwise, we will come in here and return a redirect to the two-factor verify. So we're just going to come in here and just do two-factor verify. So they have to go back to the challenge because they're still in between the login and the confirmation of the two-factor. But now, if they don't have the two-factor secret, they're not eligible for this. If they have already been confirmed, then they also are not eligible. So that is essentially what we're going to be doing out here. For context, this two-factor confirmed that is this one here. So that is essentially what we're going to be doing. So now the next thing that we're going to create aside from that two-factor.blade.php is the two-factor verify page. So we're going to do PHP artisan make Vault, okay, and we'll make Vault and we'll call this the two-factor verify. It's supposed to be inside auth, so we'll just do auth, and then given that it doesn't know how to convert snake case camel case to snake case, then we're just going to have to put the hyphens ourselves and just hope that that is the situation. So now it goes to auth two-factor verify, which is the one that we need. So we'll go to auth, and then we have two-factor verify, and this is what we're going to be using. So inside the two-factor verify, we're going to have a few things inside the UI. Well, just like the authentication for the login, we have a few things here. We have a flex column gap 6. We have our authentication header, which is a component. We also have our authentication session status. We're going to just copy all this, and yeah, actually, we would do this. We will go ahead and copy this. We will go ahead into that two-factor verify and paste it in here. The only thing that we probably get rid of inside this form is everything else apart from the first input. So we'll just come in here and get rid of everything, including the remember me. The button is going to be there. And then we are going to have a part over here saying that don't want to log in, just go ahead and log out. So given that, yeah, that person, I'll just get rid of this for now. And we'll add a flux button that is supposed to be there already. So given that now we have our, auth session status, we have our header. Our header over here is supposed to be two-factor verification. Verify, then I'll say verify using the code generated, verify. And I don't know if AI is going to help us here, using the code generated by your app. And I think it should be Authenticator app, or Authenticator. And that's just that, right? So we're just going to have one input over here, and it's going to be a wire model code. We're going to do the two-factor authentication. And then we're going to do a type text. We have it required, autofocus, and all those different things. Actually, we'll just do it as required. We won't even do required. We'll just do, and whatever it is that needs to be verified will be verified by the backend logic. And the next thing we're going to do is the placeholder. And this placeholder is just going to be 6 stars, and that's it. So given that that's now the situation, all we just need to do now is hit the button. It's a submit button, and this form itself is not a login, but it's supposed to be, maybe say verify. So we're going to create a function up here called verify. Now for us to verify, we first of all need to run this. If you look at the login page, we have this part over here, which is the authentication route. So if we go ahead and deal with that like that inside the two-factor verify, we're going to come in here, and in fact, I could just actually copy this and just lay it inside here. And this is essentially what we're going to do. So we'll just call the layout function right there. And then the next thing that we'll do is we'll do a public code, and it's not supposed to be a string. So I'll just leave it like that, public code. And I'll even just leave it empty. There's no reason why. Then we'll do protected rules, like so. And then we'll do a protected messages again. Protected messages. And then the next thing that we need here is the function for verification. So we'll do public function verify. Function for verification is going to take in the code. So you're just going to do the validation. We're going to put in the Google 2FA. We're going to try and verify this secret and this code. And this is what AI can do for us now. And now it's going to verify the secret to the code. But the secret is supposed to come in from the user's two-factor secret. So we'll just come in here and just do user. And we'll say two-factor. So given that this user's two-factor secret is what we're going to be using to pair it up with this code, then this user needs to have been declared beforehand. Okay, so we're going to come in here and say user is equal to the authenticated user, and if the verify key from the two-factor secret of the user is going to be verified by the code that is being passed in, then the two-factor confirm that is going to be equal to now. That is fine. And then we're going to come in here and save the user. So we could as well do the Google 2FA login function, and then we'll just do the redirect intended to the dashboard. So what we come in here and do is we'll come in here and just call this redirect, and we'll say redirect intended, okay? And then we'll do the route being dashboard, absolute being false, and then navigate being true, and that is fine. So everything is sorted out. And once we sort out things like this, otherwise, of course, we're just going to session flash, and now we have our error over here. So what I'd like to do here is I also like to wrap this inside a try catch and dispatch the error done. But what we can do here is just leave it like this for now, and we can move on forward to trying this out. And we'll try it out only and only in the routes. So we'll go to the routes, and then we'll go to the web over here. We have our two-factor already. We also have our dashboard over here. So what we need to do here is we'll need to grab this, get rid of the middleware, drag it down. And once we've dragged this down, we can go over here into the auth area. We can come in here and say that, okay, we need to have a two-factor check. And these routes need to register these middlewares, or rather we need to register these middlewares like two-factor and has two-factor inside our Bootstrap app by setting over here our middleware being equal to the alias, and then we're going to pass in these two. So there's two-factor, and that's what is going to be passed in. And then we also have the has two-factor. So we're coming in here and we'll say has two-factor secret.php, and that's fine. So this has two-factor secret. In fact, I won't even use this has two-factor secret. I'll just use has two-factor and use this inside our auth area. And what we're going to do here is after the user has been authenticated, we're going to pass in another vault route over here for two-factor verify, just like that. And then we'll come in here and do two-factor verify down at the bottom over here and replace this entire thing. And just like that, ladies and gentlemen, we might be done with two-factor authentication. So if we come back here, this Bootstrap app is not complete. So I'll just go back to the Bootstrap app, and this might not have been completed actually. So I'm just going to come in here, bring in two-factor authenticator, and then also over here, I'll bring in two-factor secret, and the alias needs to be completed with that. And that's, so once we've done that, we refresh here and we have our two-factor verify area over here, of which now we need to put in our two-factor verification code from the area, which is this one. So we have 645 285, and then we'll just click on login and we've logged in. And if we log out and then we try and log in again, we'll come in here, put in the PIN, okay, we log in, and then you can see we led to the two-factor authentication again. And this is where we're supposed to be putting in our two-factor authentication code. If I put in a random one, all right, so if I put a random 6 digits and it doesn't verify, it means, right, this is not actually verifiable. And we need to put in an error message at this point. So the error message will come in on this two-factor verify over here. And what I plan on doing at this point here, I plan on using classes. So I'll just use a class of, I'll do a class. Okay, I could do the error input. So I'll do flux error down here. And I'll do flux error, and then I'll say name is code. And just like that, I think we are good to go. So essentially, once I try this out again, the error should be there, actually. I don't understand why the error is not there. But a few things that I'd like to also change over here is that maybe I'm not using the way, I'm not using it the way it should have been used in today's Livewire settings. So I'll just come in here and do PHP artisan vendor And now I've been given some options over here. So I want to do this livewire config, which is number 16. I take this livewire config, I take it to the configs, which is in here, go to livewire. And what I want to enable here, most people wouldn't even want to do this, but I love doing this because it just works magically. So you can see this part over here where it says Eloquent Model Binding. So it says previous versions of Livewire supported binding directly to Eloquent Model properties using wire model by default, but however, this behavior has been deemed too magical and therefore has been put under a feature flag. So we definitely have to enable this, and this is what I like to use. So given that that is a situation, we can push on forward. We refresh this. We have, and you can see the code is required right there. It's repeating it, so I don't wish for it to repeat. I don't understand why it's repeating itself. So let's go back to two-factor verify. We have the code over here. Let's see what happens next. So refresh. The code is required. So this is essentially what we wanted. So now if we come in here, do that, then you can see our area is not validating the way we needed it to validate. So if this one is flashing the error, what I wanted to do is add to the error. This add error code, this code is invalid, and then we return just like that. So once that is done, that should work. So if I come in here and do a random code, the code is invalid. So that's essentially what we wanted to do. Now we can start by putting in our code, which is 157.661, and we log in. And that's how we do two-factor authentication, ladies and gentlemen. I know it's probably taken us 1 hour, 20 minutes, but that is essentially how you go about it. You can show the recovery codes, save all these recovery codes if you want, you're good to go. And yeah, that is that. So I'm hoping that you guys are looking forward to learning a lot more in terms of this. I'll show, like, from this logic, you can also be able to preempt, doing the needful for enabling the use of the recovery codes to log in. Another thing that I'd probably want to do here, let's just log out again, then log in. And now you can see if we go to our two-factor verify, it will take us back to login. If we go to our dashboard, it takes back to login. So if we log in, okay, we have only the two-factor authentication or two-factor verification to go through. If we change this, if we try to change this to dashboard, it takes us back to two-factor verify. Take us to settings, goes back to two-factor verify. It just doesn't want to leave this. If you've not verified your code, you're not getting in. And one thing I'd want to do here is enable a click of a button to, enable us to exit. Okay, so exit that two-factor authentication area. So I'll just come in here and say verify. All right, so that is the change I'll do there first. It's going to be verify. And then the next thing I will do here is add another code at the very bottom. So I'll come in here and do a button variant. I won't even do a flux button. I'll do a flux link and link. And that's okay. So you can see that is there. And then we'll just do justify center. That should be okay. We'll do justify center, item center with width full. So I'll just do W full. Essentially, that link just works the way it is. So let's just leave it like that. And then we'll come in here and do a flux link type of submit. And then it's going to be a logout button. Okay. And what this actually does is we're just going to come in here and call the logout. So just like here where we had the logout button inside our item over here, it's the logout button that we're having inside our application. When we go to our layouts, we go to app, and then we go to sidebar. We have our logout button on the sidebar right inside the profile. So we'll come in here and look for it inside the profile, and you can definitely see this is where it is coming to. So you can see we have our Flux, our form over here, okay, and then we have our logout button, Flux menu item as button, logout, and that's essentially what we're going to be using. So we'll come in here into the two-factor verify, and I will come and put it inside here as a form, and we'll do, instead of menu item, we'll just do Flux link, and yeah, I think that's essentially what I will do. And yeah, we now have our logout button. So if we click on logout, it should be clickable. If we do a button instead, let's do a button instead, and we get rid of this as button. We'll do type submit, and that's okay. So we have this logout. I'll just change this to a variant of danger, and that should just be that. And yeah, that should just be that. So we'll just look at it. So if we click on logout at this point here, it should be able to, like, type submit, action should be logout, and this button should not be submitting the form itself. It should be a form outside of this form. So it's using the parent form to be able to do all this. So I'm just going to remove it from there. So if we click on logout, we're logging out. We log in, we put in our user, and we log in. Now we can verify. And if we put in our two-factor code right there, we can verify, and we can either log out or log in. We can register. So we have this, we have that. I mean, okay, we already have this user in place. So I'm just going to come in here and change this and put the password. So now I'll come in here and I'll hit save. But now if I come in here and just do two-factor verify, you see this is where the problem lies. This user does not have a two-factor authentication. This user doesn't have a two-factor secret. So I'm not supposed to be able to access this two-factor verification page. So that's the only issue that is there. And the way I'll go about it is, inside this routes over here, I'll come into the auth, and there's a middleware that I've not added over here. Okay, so the middleware that I have not added is the has two-factor secret. I have not enabled that here. So now you can see that I've already been redirected back to the dashboard. So if I come in here and say two-factor verify, it redirects me back to the. So that is essentially what I was looking for. If I come in here, go to logouts, log in again, and then we try log in with this new user, then you can see we just go straight to the dashboard. We can now come in here, go to the settings, we go to two-factor, show QR, scan QR code using the authenticator. And now once we've done that, we can be able to now just key this in 014658, and we enable. And now once we've done that, we can log out, log in as this new user. All right, and then we have now our two-factor authentication. And this new two-factor authentication that we need is 954770. I'll verify, and he's in. So ladies and gentlemen, that should definitely conclude our tutorial at this point. 1 hour, 30 minutes in, and we are already done with two-factor authentication. I'm going to actually go ahead and proceed to provide this code with you to you guys so that you can be able to enjoy it as much as you can. So of course, the link is in the description, ladies and gentlemen. You can be able to find it on my GitHub. And yeah, happy coding, ladies and gentlemen. I'm hoping that this has really helped you guys all in understanding the basis of two-factor authentication. And this is just basically an API. So whatever it is that has been coming in from this guy's package is basically an API calling to the general conglomerate that is Google Authentication. And you can definitely do this with other things, just like maybe say SMSing, using Twilio, or for those guys who are in Africa, you can do Africa's Talking and all those different things. But this is probably one of the best ways to go ahead and do Google two-factor authentication in Laravel. So I'll leave you at that, ladies and gentlemen. Please do indeed like, share, and subscribe. And don't forget, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to be pushing more content, more tutorials like this one. So I'm hoping that you guys enjoyed and understood and got around and it's helped out a lot, quite a bit. I'm going to stop rambling right now, ladies and gentlemen. I'll talk to you guys later. Please do indeed stay safe, and as always, may God bless.